I was almost 4 years sober, and I was just like, I don't feel better. I don't feel better. Am I not supposed to feel better? Like I thought I was going to feel better. I finally got to the ayahuasca. Yeah. And it was just like the most freedom I had ever felt in my whole life. And I found out that I had never ever been alone. And I realized that like God was with me every minute. I'd never been alone. I would never be alone. I could never be alone. This all came to me in a way that was possible for me, which was, I had many, many lessons in the magic of all of this and how it specifically, God will find a way for you if you are seeking, like it is seeking you. But what plant medicine did for me was it got me out of that thinking. Suddenly, after my entire life, I saw what happened to me in a different way. And I saw it like from this other perspective. Not only did I see it from my parents' perspective, I saw it deeply from my mother's perspective as a woman, as a grown woman that I had never considered before because I was a child then, you know? And I also saw it, and this is the magic. Everybody's magic comes in different ways. I saw it from God's perspective, from my eyes, that God was with me, teaching me things and showing me things. There really are no bad drugs either, like there's only bad relationships to drugs. So once I realized, it's not a substance that could ever be a problem. That's just a thing. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm the problem, I'm the solution, I'm the author, I'm the audience, I'm all the things. So like what do I want to do? I remember one day I threw away every self-help book I had just laughing. I just threw it all away. I was like, I don't need this anymore. God led me back to my true self. And so that's what I'm to do with these books. I make art and I research and I write and I spend time with the plants.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my podcast, Ayahuasca Avatars. And I'm so happy to be here today with Gillian. We tried to make this happen for a while now, and finally we are here. And a good, occasion for inviting her was that her new book, Entheogenic Earth, just came out recently, and it's available for all of you guys. You can see it now. She's showing the beautiful book. So we're going to talk about that and what's in the book and how that came to be. But first, we're gonna just dive in a little bit, get to know her and her story with the medicine, because I'm sure that, that's what all of you want to know. So thank you for coming. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here. We've been trying to connect for so long, Nina. I love what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been also following your work and I really resonate, that's why I invited you, and I'm just excited to learn more about you. And I always start with this question, for my guests, that what brought you to plant medicine? What was your, intention at the beginning, and how did it transform your life? So if you want to share a little bit about that.
Okay, well, in this way, my story is not unique. So many of us came to the medicine through desperation. Um, I was deeply troubled. I was deeply unhappy, and I struggled with addiction for most of my life, and definitely my adult life. It got much worse and like darker. And eventually I ended up homeless. I lost my child. I lost custody of her for 2 years. I lived outside and I lost my mind like completely. And there's a long story to that too, of course, but I got sober, to wrap that part up. I did get sober, and I was in Alcoholics Anonymous. Even though I didn't really drink, I was a really bad junkie, really. I was almost 4 years sober, and I was just like, I don't feel better. I don't feel better. Am I not supposed to feel better? Like I thought I was going to feel better. I didn't. But what I was completely sober enough to realize, wow, like there is a lot going on with me that is not right. And so I had gone to Alcoholics Anonymous and my husband had gone to yoga. And he was a deep psychonaut all his life. And so he was going to the psychedelics in his own way. And I was in the 12-step program being like, I don't know if I can do that. Like I had been a raver in New York City in the 90s, and I thought I had done every psychedelic on earth, every way you could do it. And I just didn't know. Like I did not have the framework to even understand that I had been playing around with something, but that there was like real power there that I could maybe figure out about. So what happened was this woman that she was like very high up in the AA sponsorship women's trade. She sponsored many, 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 many women. She had lots of years of recovery. And I was always very, very drawn to this woman. Something about her from the minute that I met her was like extremely interesting to me. And she left AA to go, and she found plant medicine. And she just all of a sudden one day completely left and left all these women with no sponsor. And just it was this huge thing. And I was like, whoa, this thing happened. And my husband was like, go to her right now. Like, never mind what all these people are talking about. Like, this is good. Like, go to her. So I did because I trust him and I could see that he had something that I didn't. Um, yeah. And so I went to her, and she had been going to she had been going to ayahuasca ceremonies for a long time that nobody knew about. And she had been having this whole process on her own of breaking free from this world that she had created, this very big world where she was very popular in and all this stuff. And she just like completely broke free. And something about her could see me, like really, really see me. And she was like, I know what you need, honey. Like if you want to come do this with me, come on, you know? Um, and I did, and that started a journey with her. I trusted her, and she knew me, and there wasn't really a lot of people around but us. And so I got an enormous amount of attention um, from someone who was very healed and willing to spend an enormous amount of time with me, right? And I didn't even have this word integration yet. I did not even know like what that meant whatsoever. But what she did first with me is I did DMT, and like my whole life started over. And that was very, very shocking and very difficult. Even though it was wonderful and like what I needed, it was just so hard. And I cried for a month, like not because something bad happened, but because I was confused and I was in shock and I was in awe. And I just started pouring through like religious books and ancient texts, and I was like I could see like what had I could see all this evidence. I was like, oh, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is describing where I went, so I'm kind of going crazy, like not in a good way, but I am definitely like reaching for like what just happened, and I don't have the answer. I don't. So the next thing that she did with me was Changa. And Changa is a mixture of like chacruna leaves and other MAOIs soaked in DMT. And so I do that, and I don't even hardly know what I'm doing at this point. Like I just know that there's this medicine person helping me, and here, I'm safe. And I don't know even what the Changa is. I don't know that what Chacruna is. I don't understand all this yet. Like a little bit I do enough. I've done my research and watched some YouTubes and whatever, but like it hasn't happened to me, so I don't know. But so I do this Changa, and I feel her. I feel the Great Mother. Like she's there. And I mean, I'll never get over it, like as long as I live, like I'll never get over that feeling that I had been seen like by this thing that loved me more than anything. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And so I come back, and she said, yeah, Mama Aya is calling you. And I still didn't understand really what that meant either, but because I was still on a lot of medication. I was sober, huh, but I was on pharmaceuticals. I was on an enormous amount of Wellbutrin and gabapentin, and I was equally like addicted to that. And so, and if I didn't have it, I would just get weird so quick, and it affected my family. And, so, in my research, I knew that you couldn't do ayahuasca if you were on that kind of medication. And I was so blocked at this point in my life that I was like, oh, I can never do, I'll never be able to do it, And she was like, hold on, we can get you off this medication. And so she grew mushrooms for me. And looking back on it, like it was so divinely inspired because we were not sterile. We didn't know all the things. Like we were just gifted all this stuff, and the mushrooms showed up. And the mushrooms, and I was scared because I had all this indoctrination of the sobriety stuff and my rave years before. So I was like, I'm going to take these shrooms or whatever. And she was like, don't ever call it that again. Like, that's not what you're doing. You are taking like mushroom medicine. This is amazing. You need to start learning about it. So I did. I started to learn about it. I started to learn the science, and very slowly I started to get comfortable, and I just started out microdosing because that's all I could do. But eventually I got to high dose ceremonies, and I got off all the medication. I got off all the medication, and it was so easy. It was like, I don't know, just it was the most beautiful process for me because I didn't believe it would work for me. I just thought I would try it. Like, oh, I have nothing to lose and I will do it. I will try anything. So I got off the medication, and I just can't wait because I've been preparing for like 9 months at this point, with every day, not just like a little bit, but like every day she is in my heart. Like I am trying to go to her, I'm trying to go to the ayahuasca because I'm still like so bound up. My relationship is a mess. My parenting is still kind of a mess. My body is a mess. My health, my sense of myself, all this stuff, I'm healing a lot from the mushrooms, but I had so many layers of trauma, and I had done so much damage to myself being addicted to drugs that I had things just trapped all over my energy body. And I had no idea that I even had an energy body. I didn't know I could have things trapped. I finally got to the ayahuasca. Yeah. And it was just like the most freedom I had ever felt in my whole life. And I found out that I had never ever been alone. Even, like took me back to my childhood, just like it does for everybody in different ways, but like showed me all these moments in my childhood where I thought that I was alone and that God was not with me. And I realized that like God was with me every minute. I'd never been alone. I would never be alone. I could never be alone. And suddenly, like, I was so healed. I was so happy and healed and confused and just a mess. It was like I was this messy baby, and I was very scared. I had a lot of fear still. So I would kick and scream and cry and make a lot of noise and, all the things. And every time I'd have to work myself back up the courage. Um, but I had help. I had people that were like really, really there to support me. And with every ceremony, I learned something new. It was such a messy process for me. Um, we had a group, and I was definitely like the most scared, the most uh, loud, I would cry all the time, all the things, but it was so necessary. I look back and I see it just like shedding, all the things. Um, but then COVID happened, and we suddenly had time. Like we had time on time to like really dive into ceremony. And like, I'm going to trigger so many people right now, but we did all this in Tennessee, and we did plant dietas in Tennessee. Like I didn't even know that people were going to think that was bad. Like at the time, I just know that this is what God did for me because I was not able to leave home. um my relationship with my daughter, I wouldn't leave her, and I also didn't have the money to leave her anyway. So this all came to me in a way that was possible for me, which was, I had many, many lessons in the magic of all of this and how it specifically, God will find a way for you if you are seeking, like it is seeking you. And so that's it was seeking me too. Um, and so we did this for the whole time of COVID, once a month. We went into this work, and then we still didn't have this word integration. We called it the ceremony after the ceremony, but we started a group where we would talk. And I went to this woman's house every Tuesday morning from 9 to 12 for a year and a half just to talk about what was happening to me, you know? And without that, that was totally separate from any medicine time or any group time. This was just we would just talk. Um, and that was so transformative. And so that's why, like, I follow what you do so closely because that's what she did for me. She helped me make sense of what was happening because I had to re-examine every single thing about me, like everything, the way I responded, the way I reacted, the way I spoke, the way I ate, the way I was with my husband, my sex life, my friendships, my like this is not something you can do in a month. Like this is deep, deep, deep shit. Like my whole life changed. Every single thing changed. And with each, and the other part was she showed me a frog. The ayahuasca showed me a frog. And I just thought it was like a decoration at first, but she kept showing me this frog. And so, I get online and I'm like, frog, and I see the Cambo. I'm like, oh, okay. It's real. Like she's giving me all these lessons. Um, so she would lead me to the next thing that I needed to, and she also told me things like I'm a researcher and an author, and she would like very literally say, no more books. I'm going to teach you. Um, and it was just like so personal, and then she'd give me lessons and math or science or something. And then I'd be like, I want to learn about geometry next. And she'd just crush me and just destroy me and be like, you don't tell me what we're going to learn about. Like, you know, so I started to find my humility and just find my reverence for the process. And also, my teacher was going to Hummingbird Heart Sacred Medicine Church, run by Terry Griffin. And every time she came back from there, she brought so much with her. And she was teaching me everything that she was learning there. And so I was learning from these people that I didn't even know, you know, and that inspired me to go online because up to then she was like, we shouldn't be online right now. I mean, this is not the time for that. Um, but I started to be like, I need to find other teachers. I need to find more. And so I went online and I started to find like the beautiful medicine woman community of social media, which is where I found you. Um, yeah, and I just started to branch out that way because I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. There's not a lot of medicine people here. It's a really poor city that's full of a lot of pain. Um, and I also had just moved here just to get sober. So I didn't know, I really was on my own for a long, long time. So I was grateful to find an online community of people that were doing what I did. And really that was enough for me. I just started to learn that way and keep going. I found another medicine woman, Arya Inanna, who is amazing and very mighty. And I started to learn about Kambo from her in any way that I can. I started to learn from her. Um, and all kinds of different teachers showed up for me, and then some in my own life. And to circle back to the book, it was about 4 years ago, and she gave me this really literal project to do a book about the plants. Because I'm an artist and I didn't have any paints and stuff at the time. And she was like, you don't need paints. Like, this is a different art, and you're going to do this, and we're going to always be together. And I was like, but I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to do any of that. And she was like, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. And so that was almost 4.5 years ago. And so I finally did it. And she was right, like we've always been together.
Wow. What a story. That is like amazing, amazing to hear. Where did you come from? And here you are, so beautiful and shiny and amazing. It's hard to believe, what you went through. And I often see this with people, and that's why, I love these conversations, because we need to share our story, I think, to inspire people and to give them hope, that everything is possible. And if you could do it, I could do it, they can do it. And as you said, that really touched my heart, what you said, that when you are seeking, God will find you, and the support and the helping hand will find you. And if you are out there searching. So wow. Like, I have so many questions. The first thing that came to my mind, with the 12-step program, because I know a lot of people. I struggled with addiction with myself. I never been in the program myself, but I had a lot of friends from the program. And not many people know that actually the founder, Bill, took some LSD, and that's how a lot of the stuff came to him. And that was like scratched, I think. And so it's interesting, because I always thought, even before I started to working with the medicine, that it's so bizarre when you are in the 12 step, that people who are clean, like sober for 20 years, 25 years, they still identify as an addict, and reinforce the story that I am an addict, I am sick, something is wrong with me, even though their life was totally different. They were different. They didn't have the addiction anymore. And I always wondered about that. And once I started working with the medicine, like for me, it's just like a new dimension of healing really opened up, so much deeper. I'm gonna ask you about that, what was personally your experience. But I talked to a lot of people who are like open-minded, about medicine work. And a lot of times, what I got back was that, well, I changed so much, and compared to where I was, I'm in such a good place. Okay, things are not perfect. I still struggle with things, I'm still on maybe meds, or like I'm physically sick or whatever. But compared to where I was, this is so much better, and it's good enough. I never hoped that I ever gonna be here, and I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk it, that to because, as you said, it kind of goes against the rules, to obviously they identify plant medicine as drugs, which is, I think, ridiculous. Like, you can't put it in the same category, like, taking cocaine or whatever, opiates, or even pharmaceuticals. So I'm really curious to know, what would you say to people who it's in their mind, that maybe medicine worked, but they are on the fence, maybe they are scared, that you know, they might lose, whatever they built so far, or like, because you went through it. So what's your message to those people who are in the program, and maybe thinking somewhere that maybe there is another step, the 13th step?
When I have so much to say about that. When I went to the plant medicine, the sober community, I had moved to Memphis to get sober. So my only friends were in the sober world. And I was like, I really meant it. I was really trying to stay sober. So that's for real, the only people that I knew. And when I went to the plant medicine, I lost every friend I had instantly, because nobody was okay with it. Like, everyone was like, she's not sober. Like, she needs a white chip or whatever. And I was like, I don't think so. I've done all the drugs in the world. This is not that. Like, this is something else. Like, I don't want to do drugs. I have bad dreams about it. Like, I'm not this is something else. And by the way, like this is really hard. Like I am not just out here having the greatest time. Like I'm throwing up, like I'm my friends, like this is like a real thing I'm going through. You all have no idea what I'm going through. Um, and luckily, luckily, like my um I feel like the mother, like I had always fancied myself a very spiritual person, but like God was holding me so strongly in this time. And I also had the support of my husband, who I respect more than anybody. And he was like, never mind what everybody is talking about, like keep going. And um every one thing that everyone was so upset about and that I even received phone calls from people about was, are you still taking your medication? It was like a rumor, like Gillian's off her medication. Oh no, right? So everybody wanted me to stay on this medication, even though this medication was not working. And I realized, okay, they never even tell you it's going to work. They don't even ever tell you this is going to cure your depression. You are going to feel better. Like you are just going to be okay. That's it. You are just going to be okay. And you're going to be okay with being depressed. You're going to be like, I understand this. I'm okay. You know, that's what's going to happen. That's all that can happen because you are not going to readjust how you think about anything, right? So I'm going to give a really an example that almost everyone can relate to. Like there's something that happened to all of us when we were a kid that is like so bad that we just can't think about it any other way. Like this is me, this is this thing that happened to me, and this is bad. This hurt me. This wounded me as a child, right? Whatever this is, it could be a big thing or a little thing, but like we all have this thing, right? And most of the time it has to do with our parents. And certainly mine did, right? And so no matter how many times I talked about this in AA or talked about this in therapy or talked about this, coming apart on drugs or whatever, like I never changed my mind. I did the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous 3 times. I do think that they're amazing steps. I think it's like good spiritual 101 for anyone who's just like lost their shit. Um, but I I had forgiven, I had gone all through all these steps of like forgiving and like reframing, kind of, and being like, I'm okay with this. I'm okay. This does not affect me anymore. I am not a victim anymore, right? But did I ever like really change my mind? Like, really, did I change my mind? Like, was I liberated from this? No, never. I was never liberated from any of it. All I did was become okay with it, accepting of it, and in the state of forgiveness to myself and to others and to the world, whatever, right? But what plant medicine did for me was it got me out of that thinking. Suddenly, after my entire life, I saw what happened to me in a different way with no effort at all. I wasn't on that mission to think about it. I was doing laundry. I was doing laundry in the other room. And suddenly it dawned on me, oh my God, huh, and I saw it like from this other perspective. Not only did I see it from my parents' perspective, I saw it deeply from my mother's perspective as a woman, as a grown woman that I had never considered before because I was a child then, you know? And I also saw it, and this is the magic. Everybody's magic comes in different ways. I saw it from God's perspective, from my eyes, that God was with me, teaching me things and showing me things. And like, this is not something that I was able to do no matter how sober I got, like, and further, AA is a spiritual program. The reason I wasn't in NA because I had tried that too. I couldn't find any spirituality in NA. So even though I was such a junkie, I went to the AA for the prayer part because that part was attractive to me. But even that was nowhere deep. Like I needed deep, deep, deep prayer. Like I needed to really talk to God and I didn't know how. I could try, but I didn't know how. I was so blocked up. And these, when you start to get that freedom when you can unlock and you start to like be available to this great spirit. I call it God, whatever. There's 1,000 names. It's unnameable. But when you start to be available for that healing, I remember one day I threw away every self-help book I had, just laughing. I just threw it all away. I was like, I don't need this anymore. What is this? Codependent no more? Da da da. Women's Way to the 12 steps. I was like, yay. Like let's try something else, you know? And then like the gentle plants started to call me. Um, I had years of just like I mean, not everybody's work is grueling, not everybody's work is brutal, but like a lot of mine really was. Like it was really something. And my husband supported me so incredibly much through all of that, because it was really messy, and um thank God for I have such a steadfast man, he's very, very grounded and he really believes in psychedelic medicine like nothing else on earth. His brother, when they were very young, taught him this was the way to heal. And his brother died when they were very young too. So he has this um, just kind of like lifelong knowing of what's available. Um, and I will say that all of those people that were in AA that did not believe in anything that I was doing, they are all my friends again now. They all like I still live in the same house. I have the same phone number. I do yoga with the same people, and they're all like, "Oh, she's okay. She seems really good." Like, I have people be like, "You seem happier than ever." I'm like, "Yeah, hi."
That's
You know, and
beautiful.
in the beginning, I wanted to tell people all about it, and I think we go through that stage, and I went to a bunch of different weird experiences where I was like, oh, I'll be part of a church, and oh, I'll lead this, and I'll do that, it all leaves me. It was all wonderful learning experiences, and I wanted to go through all that, but really I'm an artist and I'm a researcher, and God led me back to my true self, and so that's what I'm to do with these books. I make art and I research and I write and I spend time with the plants, and this is my way of channeling. Everybody channels in their own way, channels God through whatever their passion is, um, and um, my mother and my first husband passed in the same year, um, about 12 years ago. And that was another thing that I thought was, the worst thing. Um, and turns out like they're right there, they're right there in this world with me, teaching me. Like as soon as I got sort of out of my way and I could see the spirits and realize that it wasn't just that God was always with me, but like I was my mother living. I was the living version of my mother. I had been taught by this man that gave me this daughter, and he was part of me too. And like suddenly I didn't need to miss anybody. I wasn't missing out on anything. I hadn't lost anything. I was like, oh, I actually have more than I maybe more than the next person, because like they are really with me on this. Um, and so, I'll find like books that used to be my mom's, and she didn't know about psychedelic medicine, but it turns out she was friends with all these shaman, and she has all these notes and these books of stuff that I'm just figuring it out now, like through the internet and through people, and like she already knew. So I'm on this cool little journey of like finding out more about my mom through all this too.
I can relate to, a lot of things that you are saying, and like I wanted to talk about, a little bit more to like the difference between um different types of healing, and I'm like, because I come from a background of psychology, and that's what I did, for a while. And then I realized that talk therapy is so ineffective, but at the time, like, I didn't know why. Now I understand, that there are things that you cannot talk about because you are not aware of. You are unconscious of it. So how can you talk about something that you are not aware or you don't remember, which was in my case, the trauma I went through, it was suppressed into amnesia, for most of my life, I did not remember. So how can you talk about like that's why talk therapy totally didn't help me. And so what the plants did for me, and especially the mother ayahuasca, is help me to access information in the unconscious that I couldn't access with any other tool. And not just talking about traditional talk therapy, but holistic therapy, crystals, readings, psychics. I mean, I went to everybody, I tried everything, to get the information to figure out why why is this going on in my life. So I think that's super important aspect. The other thing is like emotional processing. You can understand that, yeah, things happen for a reason. Yeah, my parents did the best they could, blah blah blah. You can intellectually understand these kind of things. You can intellectually accept, you can intellectually forgive because you understand that that's for your best interest, but still emotionally you still might be trapped in trauma. And that was another aspect for me that was very different with the plants. When I started to work with the ayahuasca, I had emotional releases like I never experienced before. Like, I mean, crying, like, but to the extent, like wailing, like coming out of me like a vomit. Like I was like, where is this coming from? Where is this sadness coming from? This, like, it's such a depth of emotions, and emotional pain that I could never process because I couldn't go there, because you instinctually resist to go there because part of you is like, let's not touch that, that's too painful, of course. So until you emotionally go through processing, all the emotions that was like connected to whatever happened, as you say, you cannot move on. Maybe you can move on intellectually, but you can't really move on. It's like part of it, I feel, is like deceiving yourself. And, back to the addiction, I always thought, and I actually had friends before who truly healed from addiction. And I always thought that if you're healed, you can have, let's say if you're an alcoholic and you healed and you're not an alcoholic anymore, you should be able to have a glass of wine and have no problem because you're here. That's what I thought. And actually, I knew people who were like that, who were like raging alcoholics, and they found healing through different ways. And they were able to have a drink every now and then, and there was no compulsion. They had no problem. They didn't behave like an addict anymore. And then later, that the very same thing happened to me, and I was addicted to marijuana for over 20 years, and at one point, when I went through processing that the trauma that happened to me on a bottom level, emotionally, like on every possible way, suddenly what happened, the anxiety disappears from my system that I had my whole life. It just vanished, like literally like one day to another, and the addiction disappeared. It was like, I remember that there was days passed by and I was like, oh my God, I haven't smoked a joint, but more than that, I haven't thought about it. I completely forgot about it. This is crazy. And then it like it was never in my thoughts anymore. I never had a desire. It was just missing from my, it was just such a bizarre experience. And I waited many months because I was like, well, better not touch it because, I might fall back or whatever. And after like 6 months or something, I'm like, I'm going to test this hypothesis that I have, because I feel that I am a different person and I don't have that addiction. So let's see what happens, and I was with a friend and we smoked a joint and I enjoyed it. We had a good conversation. And then I went home. And again, I never thought about it anymore. I never had, oh, now I want another one. I want to buy, like nothing, nothing. And I mostly choose not to use it because I just don't feel I need it or like gives anything to me that I can't have without it, but I can have it and I don't have the compulsion anymore whatsoever. So my questions to you, about the emotional processing, about, seeing the bigger picture, but really as a lived experience, not as an intellectual understanding, as you said, but, to experience it in your bones, in your cells. And about what do you think about, when you heal an addiction, actually you can have the substance or the behavior, whatever, every now and then if you choose to, and you're not going to fall back to the compulsion.
Well, I had a sort of similar journey with the marijuana. I have a good relationship with it now, but there was a time where I was like, no, no, I can't do anything. Um, Actually, there's a medicine man that people might know, Shane Ali. Shane and I went to high school together, and we were both addicts, and we both got sober around the same time. And we talk about this together, that we are not in recovery, that we have recovered. And he drinks just fine. I mean, and he was as bad off as anybody and could ever be, and I smoke, and it doesn't affect, anything. What I want to say about emotional processing is that one thing that I think is so kind of, I'm trying to teach my daughter about it, but she's in a Catholic private school. So it's like really hard because especially in America, like we do not talk about that you are not just this physical body, that there is more than you can just see with your eyes. And it is really real, and you're carrying it around all the time. So as much healing as I was doing with the ayahuasca, right? She showed me the frog, and, um, with Kambo and Sananga, I was able to, well, we'll start with the Sananga. I just was like, oh, eye drops, I did not, I have like the most extreme reaction to Sananga. Like I just lose it. And so, didn't understand, like, why do I cry like this? Why do I have like, and then afterwards, I start to talk to people about it. They're like, this is all the anger that you have ever held in. These are all the tears that you have ever held in for your whole life. Like, there's millions of them, like millions of times that you didn't say what you meant, that you let somebody do something to you, that you kept silent when you shouldn't have, when you didn't have the words, all these things, right? These things like hurt me. They hurt us. They're like little hurts in our soul, And like some of us are more resilient than others, right? But I'm very, very sensitive. And I carried all this stuff around with me, and it was weighing me down like a bag of rocks, Also like grief. My husband had died, and I was just wearing this like a cloak, I was just like, I'm Gillian and my husband is dead. Like, oh, I'm always gonna be sad about this. Um, and even if I accept it, I'm still gonna be sad about it, right? Well, so I do the Cambo, and I'm gonna tell this story because I think it was the first time that I did Cambo, but this is what made me like really, really fall in love with this medicine, because I had gone through the DMT, the Changa, the mushrooms, the ayahuasca, all these things. I was doing Reiki and like seeing flaming horses flying by me, like I was wide open. Um, and so I do the Cambo, and I'm like you were saying before, making noises where you're like, is that me? Like I'm really making noises, and one part of my brain is like, oh, stop. You're like, don't do like the other part of me is like, nope, this is what we're doing. Like, here we go. And I feel this like black mass, like, and it's kind of under my like right boob, and I start to feel it like move, and I'm just like making this noise, and I don't know, like this noise. I don't know if I could ever even make this noise again if I tried, but like. I felt this thing dislodge out of me. And as soon as it started to move, I could feel all the dread, like the dread of heroin, like the darkness, like the dread of ever going back to it, the dread of being an addict, the dread that I would always be an addict. I felt that. And I was like, oh, ah, and I just yelled it right out my mouth. And I felt it just like shaking me the whole way. And I was just like, oh, I just fell apart and just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed because I had no idea that that was trapped in me. I had no idea that that I needed to get that out. And I didn't even know that I really felt like that. Like I'm gonna always be messed up. Like I'm always going to be afraid of this thing, right? Like there's no way to live. Like I'm in recovery and I'm always going to be scared. Like that wasn't for me. Like that wasn't for me to carry. Like so I got this gift where all that left and I was like, "Oh, I'm recovered. I am recovered. I am not carrying that around. I'm not scared. You could put that right in front of me 100,000 times. It wouldn't affect me." And what that did was make me suddenly want to go help the addicts. I was like, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay around you now. I'm okay about you. I know what's happening. I want to help you, you know? And I was like, this is not a psychedelic. You don't have, nobody has to be messed up about am I offering some kind of whatever. Like, this is hard work. If you want to do it, like, come to my house and I will help you do this. But like, I had to learn, and that took some time too. But I love learning. I love being a student of plant medicine. There's nothing I love more. Um, yeah, it really makes me happy. It keeps me close to God. And I've seen, certain people have shown up that have been so badly addicted. And, getting to help even a few people like come out of that is the most gratifying work in the world. Like, to just help people find some relief in a real way that is gonna like last. I mean, I haven't taken any medication in 8 years now. I've never needed any medication ever again. I take one thing for a skin rash that I have, but like I'm gonna be 50 this year. I don't need any medicine. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I make all my own chemicals just fine. I sleep. Another thing was I had insomnia forever since a child. And that was part of the drug addiction. Like that was part of my psychosis was like I wanted to go to sleep. So I'd take Xanax or like whatever, all these things that would lead me to other stuff. But the insomnia lasted throughout all of the 12-step program. I would fall asleep with the TV on, or like I wouldn't want like my own silence. That was hard for me. Meditation even was hard for me. Like silent meditation for any like real length of time, I would either fall asleep or leave. I couldn't. Um, but yeah, all that just got so much better. So much better. Um, and I think that, I don't think that plant medicine is for everybody. I think that, it's definitely a calling, but part of me thinks that Cambo is for everybody. I think everybody needs to do Cambo. They don't know it, and nobody, hardly anybody wants to. Like, it's really something that's in our world but I was not like, I tell people about it. They're like, oh, you're gonna throw up. I'm like, yeah, isn't that great? Like, can't you wait, see what happens. Um, but I learned through the Aya and through the mushrooms and the peyote and the chemo that I am a purger. Like purging works really, really well for me. So I don't fight that at all. Like if it wants to come out, like please, it's not for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Funny, I never worked with Kambo. I had many experiences, what you described with Kambo through ayahuasca, actually. So maybe that's why I never felt the need. And as I understood earlier, that was more for physical, purging and healing, and I didn't have any physical problem, or my problem was
I
like
think I think that
psychological and emotional and stuff like that. So but I think it's the main thing is what you said earlier, that if you're searching, if you have a pure intention that you want to heal, you want to have a better life, you want to be happy, you want to be a better person, you want to help others, then these things come to you when you are guided. You are so guided on this path, you are so led, the right people, the right medicines, the right places, everything shows up exactly when you need them. And we need to honor each path, and as you said, some paths, some people path is not with medicine, and some people are, and it's all perfect, it's all good, no judgment on that. But I just really, and I just want to give this shout out to people that if it's, if it's in your mind, if it keeps coming to you, if it's calling you, all this what we are talking about, but
yeah. I
Great.
actually asked that question to my medicine woman because I would think about it all the time, and I was at this point, I was kind of recently out of the 12-step program. So I was like, oh, am I obsessing? Like, what is this? Is this okay that I'm thinking about it all the time? And she was like, that's the medicine calling you. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And say yes.
And yeah, and also that, there's
Knowing
some
say yes
another,
and trust yourself, trust that it's
right,
part of you who is calling you. It's not only the medicine, the spirit of these plants and
right,
but it's your higher self or whatever you want to, your
right.
soul is calling
And
you.
once you realize that you're in control of all that, because it is you, there is no other, there are no others, we're all the same person. But also that there really are no bad drugs either, like there's only bad relationships to drugs. So once I realized, it's not a substance that could ever be a problem. That's just a thing. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm the problem, I'm the solution, I'm the author, I'm the audience, I'm all the things. So like what do I want to do? You know? And growing up, especially I grew up in New York City and I grew up around a lot of different religions, but still, and I even went to Hare Krishna temples. My mother was very like go everywhere, do everything. I still always was taught, and as an adult I would probably see it differently, but still, as a child, God was taught to me that God was out there, right? And that is very like incorrect and sad. And it made me lonely as a person. And I didn't know that that's like why I was always lonely. Like, no matter how many people I would be around or whatever I was in. Like I felt kind of alone, because I didn't understand like that I was this little piece of God and I was n never going to be alone. Nothing was ever separate from me. Um, and also like it separated me from the earth itself to be that way. I spent like all my life barely looking up that there was a moon, like n not really realizing like the beauty of this world, like the majesty of this realm. And then even like, when you start to interdimensional travel and like realize there are other places, wow, the appreciation for planet Earth it magnified in me times a million. I was like, this is the gift. Like my life on earth is the biggest prize. Like here I am, like living this gift of life, and I want to be here. I don't ever want to hurt myself again. I don't want to be my own worst enemy. I want to be kind to everybody because they're all me. And that was such a relief. And I finally was like, I'm not lonely. There's nothing to be lonely about. Um,
Truly speaking from my heart, and I have many conversations with people who are on the same path, and it's great, very gratifying and affirming that we all go to the same place and there is only one truth, because there's so like we all have such a unique story, but we all saying the same thing, we all learn the same thing, and it's like, oh my God, that just
No,
a layer
it's
to
like we take all these different paths, but at the top of the mountain, God is waiting for us all there.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, I would love to continue this conversation because I think we have a lot more to share. And I really, really enjoyed connecting with you. We're gonna share all your information, where people can get your beautiful book. That has to be another time when we go deeper into that, what's it,
Okay.
how it can
Yeah.
serve people.
So
And
the book is about 22 different visionary plants, not just ayahuasca. Well, some that you've heard about, of course. And there's a lot of different people from the our medicine community featured in here, and different like products that people in our medicine community make, and like links to all their shops and stuff in the back. Because I love this little world that I found. With all of us in this plant medicine community. I mean, I think that especially during COVID, when I started to find online friends, we are the nicest people. We are the nicest group of people.
so true. Yeah, we're gonna share your contact details. So if people wanna connect with you personally or work with you, in some shape or form, they can do that. And yeah, I'm just giving you this invitation for a part two because I think that there is more that is worth sharing, and inspiring on their healing journey. Thank you so much, Jillian, for
Thank
coming,
you so much, Nina.
sharing with you. And for the audience, please leave a comment, share your story, share this episode with your friends and family, and stay tuned for the next episode.